On a dark, starry night, a witch family is preparing for a massive feast at their home in a deep, dark forest. With the arrival of guests expected any moment, there is huge chaos among the houseworkers as one of the witches shouts at them, ordering them to finish setting up the table and get the decorations ready. Some of the workers are even crying as they don't know what to do, and with all of this going on, some kids are playing around with magic and a guy stops them, forbidding them to use magic if they are not helping, and when the guests arrive, one of the kids addresses him as dad and urges that they want to play, but he doesn't listen to him and disciplines him using the same stick they were playing around with. In the midst of all this, Martha arrives from upstairs, inquiring about the reason for all this commotion and why isn't everything ready yet. The guy apologizes and tells her that they are trying their best to finish everything on time as his wife arrives and mocks him, stating that if he had taken his job of looking after the kids seriously, they wouldn't be in such a mess. This concerns Martha as she asks them to focus on their respective jobs and that she doesn't want any fights. She elaborated that their family and the Red Vampire clan have been at odds for centuries, and in order to make peace, this meeting is necessary. She further tells them that it took her decades to commence talks with them and that she wants every member of this household to cooperate. With that said, some old good-for-nothing lady mocks Martha, stating that she should focus on her own daughter as she has been locked up in her room since morning. This shocks Martha as she shouts her name. Martha wonders what she is even thinking as she is doing all this for her. Meanwhile, Morgana is still in her room staring at the mirror all dressed up. She can't seem to figure out if she looks good or not, and in the end blames everything on the dress her mother gave her, calling it dreadful. She then takes off the dress and throws it in the air, using her magic to make it float. Looking at the dress, she wonders how furious her mother would get if she tweaks the dress a little bit. She then brings out her wand and makes some changes to the dress to suit her preferences. With the design all ready, it is time to play around with the colors as Morgana uses her wand to change the color of the dress. However, as she is coloring the dress black, she notices some sparks, and as she wonders what is happening, there is a huge blast which burns the dress to crisps. This frightens Morgana as she tries to extinguish the fire, but gets surprised to notice that it got even bigger. With all of this going on, her brother Mordecai appears from behind and saves her dumbass by extinguishing the fire using a water spell. He then mocks her by stating that this is not the best day to burn the entire house down, inquiring what she was even trying to accomplish. Seeing her brother relieves Morgana as she asks him if he can perform restoration magic as well. Mordecai tells her to ask their mother, but she refuses, urging that she will kill her if she finds out. As she is crying buckets, the doorbell rings, startling both of them as she questions if the guests have already arrived. Mordecai doesn't care what happens to his dumb sister and leaves after wishing her luck. Meanwhile, Morgana, who is standing all alone in her room, stares at her dress with tears in her eyes and decides to get rid of the evidence first. With all of this going on, a car appears outside the house and some Susi people appear from them. From the looks of it, they are the guests Morgana and others are waiting for. One of the guys tells their boss that everyone is here, with the boss giggling and asking Oz if he remembers what he is supposed to do. The boss then announces that they will give the witches a party they will never forget. As they ring the doorbell, Martha opens the door and welcomes them, introducing herself as the one who will be leading the negotiations today. One of the vampires comments regarding the paintings, calling them creepy as his boss looks around the house and notices Neil Winterberry's name. He then asks Martha to drop the formality as they are just here to humor their polite invitation, which agitates her and the other witches. One of the elder witches sitting there orders them to show some respect as their elders have been stealing their spell books, destroying their potions, and attacking their apprentices for decades now. He further accuses them of ruining their businesses as he mocks them for walking in like they owe them something. He also asks them to be grateful since they haven't burned them yet. The other witches stop him and take him back to his room. His son apologizes on behalf of him as Martha gets frustrated over all this. With all of this going on, Oz and some other vampires are waiting outside the house as one of them tells Oz to stay put as they are on standby in case the witches try something shady first. She also forbids him from doing anything stupid which can potentially lead to an all-out war, as the witches can't be trusted. She further tells him that the witches might even utilize illegal magic, so it's better to be prepared, as Us gets irritated and tells her that he understands. Meanwhile, as Martha and the others sit down on the dining table, Martha asks them regarding the blood they have served so they can lay the ground for peaceful negotiations. The boss, however, mocks her and advises to begin with apologizing, to which Martha replies by apologizing on behalf of their elder. She further tells them that since he possesses the most wisdom in their clan, he gets a bit agitated and feels uneasy. This makes the vampires even more angry, as they were already looking for a fight. They tell her that this apology is not enough and that they are really hurt by what her elders said, but the witches had some counter remarks as they ask them to show some courtesy, as he is just an old man. This marks the beginning of an all-out verbal war between the witches and the vampires, as Mordecai wonders where his sister is. Morgana, on the other hand, sneaks outside the house where Oz and the other vampires are waiting on standby. One of the vampires gets shocked and wonders what she is doing there, as she can potentially blow away their cover and lead to chaos. Morgana, however, has no clue whatsoever regarding what's happening, as she is there to get rid of her beautifully burnt dress. She makes up some weird excuses and wonders if her mother would buy them as she heads down the stairway. This alerts Oz, who is hiding just beneath the staircase, and as he tries to run away, a cat appears out of nowhere and jumps on him. Despite his looks, the cat seems to like him. This alerts Morgana, as well as she questions if someone is hiding there. The cat is still following us around as he asks his comrades if they should run away, but they refuse, stating that the boss might still need their help and that they need to distract Morgana. Morgana is sure that she heard some noise and keeps searching for it, wondering if Mordecai is trying to prank her. In the meantime, one of the vampire pushes Oz in front of her, which startles both of them. As Oz is standing there clueless, Morgana brings out her wand impulsively and uses some magic, but fortunately, she misses Oz. She then questions him regarding his identity, to which he replies by stating that he is lost. He wasn't expecting her to believe him this easily, but being a dumb witch, Morgana believes him and her face lights up as she questions him if he is one of the guests. After hearing Oz's positive response, Morgana apologizes for the use of magic and explains that it was impulsive, as she further tells him that they are not allowed to use magic tonight and that he should not tell anyone. With that said, Oz notices the burnt dress in her arms and inquires about it, to which Morgana once again asks him to not tell anyone. This makes us laugh as he comments that she must really hate parties. Hearing this, Morgana introduces herself, hoping that they can get along well. Oz also introduces himself reluctantly and shakes her hand. Morgana tells him that he's the second vampire she's ever talked to and hopes that everyone inside is also getting along well and that she also wants to meet his friends. Even though she is hopeful, the situation inside is pretty dire, as the vampires are continuously accusing the witches and mocking them for offering them fresh blood despite all this. Martha doesn't understand what they are talking about, as the vampires mix something in their drinks and start gulping it down their throats. Seeing this, Martha apprises that she doesn't know what they are referring to, but proposes a work contract between the two families, suggesting that working for them would benefit them a lot. This shocks the vampire boss as he spits the blood he is drinking and asks her to stop messing around, and that they would never work for witches who have killed countless of their comrades and utilize dark magic. He further tells them that they are here to make them surrender all of their dark magic formulas. Hearing this, Martha's husband stands up and furiously tells them to stop lying to them and that they don't have any connection with dark magic. In the meantime, one of the witches comes barging into the room, shouting that father is not in his room and that he noticed some more vampires hiding outside. This shocks Martha and the others as they realize that the vampires are here to ambush them and question them regarding this. The vampires, however, respond by stating that they were being cautious in case they try something funny. In the meantime, the powder they had mixed in their drink starts taking action as the boss spits out blood and accuses the witches for poisoning the blood. Martha is appalled at all this and cannot believe what is happening as Jess tells her to take out her wand. Even though she is hesitant, Martha utilizes magic and the vampires are forced to retreat. Morgana and Oz, who are standing outside, wonder what is happening inside as one of Oz's comrades shouts that they need to help their boss. However, the vampires rushing outside the mansion tell them to retreat. Oz gets furious at all this, stating that it was all a trap, but Morgana denies and tells him that she has no idea about what is going on. Oz, however, accuses her of being a liar as he attempts to run away, but Morgana instinctively utilizes magic on him, and in the meantime, her dad also appears on the spot. The first meeting between the witches and the vampires was a complete disaster, and as the vampires are running away, they realize that Oz is still missing. The magic Morgana had used on him had turned Oz into a cat. As the entire house is burning, Cat Oz wakes up confused and starts looking around. He notices some of his comrades looking for him and wonders why they are so damn tall. On the other hand, the vampires looking for him wonder if the witches have captured him, as one of them suggests that Morgana must be behind this. Cat Oz tries to get their attention by jumping around, but all in vain as they cannot understand him and ignore him. They then decide to leave before everything burns down. Cat Oz, however, vows to take his revenge for Morgana. The following day, the Winterberry household had received the house damage report. The witch looking at the report comments that it would cost them a fortune on this house and that they can't even take any more loan following all the regulations the magic inspection has put on them. As they are conversing, the inspector arrives at the spot and both of them leave this matter to Martha's hands, as she is the one behind all this. In the meantime, Morgana is busy brewing tea in the garden as she utilizes some magic spells, hoping that the tea would come out good and please both Martha and the inspector. But, with her magic skills, the teapot ends up bursting. With all this going on, Mordecai arrives at the spot and questions Morgana about what is taking her so long, as the inspector and Mom are waiting for her. He then glances at the tea and decides to help her as Morgana apologizes. She then asks her if she got hurt last night, to which she replies by telling him to not worry about her as she is not sure what really happened last night. Mordecai tells her that he thinks that they are in trouble as the vampires refused all negotiations and even accused them of using dark magic. He further tells her that they were demanding some magic formulas, and as he is telling her all this, he starts shaking. Morgana realizes that the vampires were not there to make peace and apologizes to Mordecai for not being there for him. This makes him blush as he tells her that it was not that scary, asking her to hurry up and serve the tea to the inspector and their mother. In the meantime, as the inspector and Martha are waiting for the tea, clumsy Morgana arrives, spilling tea all over the place. Now that the tea has arrived, the inspector gets straight to the point, assuming that Martha already knows why he is there. He tells her that they have some serious concerns regarding their family business and that they have been accused of committing several serious crimes like selling dangerous potions and spells, kidnapping innocent people, and even conspiring against humans. This agitates Martha as the inspector continues telling her that some of her family members are poorly trained, often getting into accidents, and now that their vacation home has been burned down, the inspection demands a satisfactory answer, otherwise they'll have to shut down their family business, which worries Morgana. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Morgana here. Cat Oz, on the other hand, is attempting to climb a tree as he aspires to get close to the witches. He realizes that his nose is really useful and tells him a lot about his surroundings.